So everybody knows that the LX is one of my favorite vehicles in the Lexus lineup, and it's also one of the most rare. So in today's video, I'm gonna be doing an up-close look of every button, function, and feature, or most of them anyway, using my trusty gimbal, and we'll try to get up as close as we can to a vehicle that you may not have been able to. I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. Make sure you hit like and subscribe for more Lexus related content. Let's get up close and personal, and one of the things that I want to mention is the paint. So this is actually one of our last models that have the Obsidian paint color. So Obsidian is just the classic gloss black that doesn't have much metallic to it. It's very glossy, and in fact, it's the closest to my 1995 Toyota Supra paint that we have in the lineup because of the lack of metallic and no pearl as well. So it looks really good in black, especially with these black accents. Now, the LX we're looking at today is the F Sport package. So it gives you that spindle grille, it has the nicer dark wheels. The fact that there's some smoked out chrome is always a benefit. Also, you'll see we have a little front facing camera under that Lexus emblem. But as always, what we're gonna do is start with popping the hood. So I'm just gonna quickly get in here, reach down and pop the hood. I'm sure even some of our Lexus LX owners probably don't look under the hood too often. So under the hood, we have a twin turbo V6. And this is one that we've now seen in a couple of different Lexus vehicles. It started with the LS and now over to the LX, the GX. We see it in some Toyota product. Although the Toyota product is a little different, I would say. It's a similar combination, but still slightly different. So under here, not a ton to look at. I do like the fact that they have an actual Lexus emblem. So it's not just, oh my gosh, it's so dusty under here. It's not just like a sticker, that is an actual Lexus emblem. It's 3D, and I like that it says twin turbo right above it. It's not totally covered over, that you might notice. So we still have some pipings for the intakes, etc. Obviously, we're not gonna touch that too much, but we are going to go over here, and this is where you would put your windshield wiper fluid. So that's probably the only thing you're gonna touch under here. I mean, we have this big cowling for batteries, and here's a fuse box and stuff like that. But overall, you're not gonna need to touch it too often, that's for sure. And while we're looking at the hood, I just wanna point out that huge sort of air dam. It's like an angular mountainous range on that hood, which looks really good. It gives it that really big, aggressive stance. Now I will also just press the key. So I'm just gonna press unlock. And by the way, it's a pretty normal key for the lineup. It's nothing too special. And let's just see those daytime running lights. So really frosted. There's actually some detail there that I hope we can pick up on camera. Instead of just frosted glass for that daytime running light, there's actually a texture to it. It's almost like a dotted pattern. And we also have a Lexus emblem off to the side. You'll see that really bright turn signal. Now that's a feature I always forget to talk about, is turn signals, because really you only see it if someone's turning in front of you or behind you. And it's nice that it's the full length of that daytime running light. And above that, we have the triple beam LED headlight system. Of course, because it's a Lexus. And it still has the headlight washers, which I spoke to one of our guests tonight who's a fan of the channel. He said that because of these videos, he learned about his headlight washers and when to use them and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, let's just look, before I get inside, I just wanna showcase a little bit of that silhouette on the outside. Now, this is one of the only vehicles in the lineup, there's like 3 total, that has adjustable air ride, or in this case, actual hydraulics. So right now, it's actually at the second to lowest setting for height. That's why you'll see that front wheel gap isn't huge right now. There's like 3 settings above this you could go to. So you could kind of have it in like city slicker mode where it's like slammed on dubs, or you could have it in like an off-road truck mode, which both of them are pretty cool. On the brakes, you'll see, I mean, with that F Sport wheel, nothing to really write home about. Actually a pretty small brake setup when you think about how big this vehicle is. And then it is kind of interesting, some people love it, some people hate it, that we have actual chrome. So as you saw on the front, it's all smoked out for the grill, but then we have on the handles and the mirrors and the surrounding of the glass, we have all chrome, as well as that roof rail is like a frosted chrome. And I won't get up there because it is super, super dusty. What we do have is a step. So a side step that's well lit. So you can see some puddle lamps there. It is like the textured black. It's almost like a gray, some people will say. And this is like the only side step that I find useful is on the LX. For one, I think it just depends on what the height setting is. And I would use it not to get in the vehicle, but to get up and like grab something. So if I was using this for like a lifestyle, maybe I'll stand up and do it that way to get like my surfboard off the roof, something like that. Okay, let's start talking about some interior stuff. So for one, I'm gonna look at this door panel. So we start to see some of the really high-end textures. So throughout the whole cabin, you'll see this texture. It's a brushed aluminum, and it is actual aluminum. That's huge to pay attention to when car shopping because most of the time the materials are just simulated. This is actual brushed aluminum, so it looks amazing and it feels amazing to touch. The whole door itself is super, super solid. And then we have the puddle lamp. It does say Lexus on the floor, or sorry, it says F Sport. And the puddle lamp, that's right from the factory. And then inside, I mean, it's red light right now for the ambient lighting, but you can change some of the ambient lighting. We have a Mark Levinson speaker dome here, and it's also sort of like an aluminum. And I like on some of these flagship cars, the speaker grill is like artwork itself. So instead of just a regular plastic cover, it's aluminum. It's got, you know, design language to it instead of just being like a fence between you and the speaker. Door bezel, so just your normal door switches, as well as some mirror controls. Before I get in, I'll just do some of these lower things here. We have our F Sport door sill that is illuminated, and it does still have the plastic on for the next person. And then we have some seat controls here. So forward, backward, up, down, and then you can like tilt it as well. And then we have the leg support. I think it's called thigh support actually. So we have the thigh support, it comes out quite large. Forward, backward for the backrest, and then lumbar support, which goes up and down. And it is pretty easy to use. Like when you think of it, this is the bottom of your seat, this is the back of the seat, just move it the way you want it to. And I will say that the seats in the LX are super solid. The leather has a good smell to it. They have a really good feel to it as well. And there's even some details like F Sport on the headrest. That reminds me of my Lexus LS that I have a 2014 LS, has that F Sport logo on the headrest as well. Some really nice stitching, big fan of that. Okay, still continuing before we get in the car. Down here we have an actual physical lever for the fuel release door, which is kind of cool. We have this little change holder. It's great for car wash money. That's what I use mine for. We have our trunk right there, so you can press and hold that. We have auto stop off, which I forgot this vehicle has. So you can shut off the fact that it shuts down the gas engine every once in a while, like when you're at stop signs. We have our pano view, so you can turn that on and off. I usually put that to auto. We have odometer and trip, and then we can adjust our dome and interior lights a little bit there. And then there's one more vent sort of off to the side as well. And then getting in, so let's get that view of your first seat in the LX. So again, what you'll notice is a really nice seating position. It does feel like a truck, for sure. I mean, it is a big truck. Classic that I like is a smaller dash and actually a pretty small steering wheel. Like gripping it, you'll notice like these little bits here, super thin, which I really like. Paddle shifters are actually plastic. I can feel that. They're plastic. And then the buttons on the steering wheel are physical. They're not the intelligent illuminated ones. So we have volume up and down. We have this for speaking to like Siri or making phone calls. Again, just to the phone screen or to answer. Back button in case there's like something on the multi-info display that we need to like exit out of. And then up, down, left, right. We'll actually cycle through what we see there. So if I go over to the right, it'll go through these little sub menus. And then let's say I go to I and then go up and down using I'm just using my finger to go up and down. Then we can see things like, current fuel economy, average fuel economy, range, average speed, eco indicator, tire pressures, and then again, we can go over to like our navigation, our music, our assist to see if cruise control's on, and then if there's any messages the car was yelling at us about. And then we can do some like customizable vehicle settings. So we can change like how loud the parking sensors are, the rear cross traffic, how loud that is, the heads-up display. We could change the extended or standard auto stop, rear seat reminder, TPMS sensor, all of them. There's so many features. So you do all that from that screen. On the right side, we have our cruise control for the most part is what you're gonna use here. Lane departure alert, up and down for cruise control cancel, and then distance. And you'll notice it doesn't have what some of the other new Lexuses have, and that is to turn off the intelligent cruise control. Mode and forward backward is for the music. Okay, another thing is that screen. I know I have a light on it, so you can't really tell, but it is super crisp. So really good screen there. It's not like bright, like as if it was like a tablet, but it is crisp like a crystal screen. I'm a big fan of that. I find it not very straining to the eyes. As for other controls, so on the left, we have obviously our signals, as well as auto high beams and fog lights. And then over to the right, we have wipers, which you can set to auto just by putting it down into the auto setting, as well as down once for auto. And you can also do the rear wipers here too, which is important. That's pretty much it for the steering wheel. Oh, one more detail is it says F Sport right there. So really nice, another touch. This is also a plastic. It's not the same metal that we saw in other areas. Okay, let's talk about the center console, because this is a big difference from any car in the Lexus lineup. Some new buttons that you won't see on any of the Lexus. One of them is the raise and lower the ride height. So as I mentioned, there's a few different settings for that. It takes a while to have them pump up and pump down. Some years of LX are hydraulics, some are air ride. So that's important to note. Then we have traction control off. We have the lock the center differential. So you can do that if you're doing some off-roading or if you're stuck in the sand or snow. And then our park. We have a big phone holder right here, which is a good spot for it because it's kind of like reachable from your hand and you wouldn't really forget your phone there. In the center, we have our champagne cooler, as I call it. And this one actually has a little shelf. See, that's kind of nice. And it's a big cool box. So you could put a lot of bottles of Gatorade in there or water or what have you. And all you do is you turn that on like this. It does kick on the climate control. So just remember that. And this you can actually open from both sides. So that's kind of nice too. It's a nice big armrest and it feels good to open and close. It's very solid. In the center, we have cup holders and you can see I have the red lights on. So they are part of the illumination, which is nice. Then we have heated and cooled seats, auto heated steering wheel. You can set all of that to auto if you want. The shifter itself, super solid. We have, oh, it just yelled at me for doing that. That's funny. Perforated leather here. And then we have USB-C and USB standard off to one side. The other side we have our 12 volt sort of like cigarette lead outlet. There is a decent space here as well, but I don't know. I don't think you're gonna use that too often. Okay, let's get into more buttons. We have a multi-terrain select switch. We have our drive mode switch and we have our crawl and DAC switch. These essentially just change what this knob to the left does. If I put it in multi-terrain and then I turn this knob to the left, we can see it change from mud to sand to deep snow to dirt, etc., etc. Then if we hit drive mode, it would change from normal to sport plus to custom, and then you could go the other way and go like eco or comfort. And then if we were in crawl control or DAC, this would also control that, but I don't think it's gonna do anything for us right now. So those are kind of like your off-road or sport settings, and that's a big part of this center configurator here. Easiest way to think of it, so your drive modes are just like any other car where normal is normal, sport plus is going to be a touchier gas pedal and brake pedal, and shifts are gonna hold longer. And then Sport Plus is the same, but with a tighter suspension. Also, you'll notice we have a G-force meter in that screen in the top right corner. And then when we go multi-terrain select, it changes to like a pitch and yaw meter. So really, really cool. Reminds me of aviation. And if you're doing some off-roading, you'll see that sort of pitch and move around, and you can keep an eye on making sure you're not gonna flip over. On the left, we have our accelerator. So that's me touching the gas. And then our brake, again, shows you how hard you're touching that. All really good for off-roading, whether it's snow, ice, mud, anything like that. Those are really good configurations and features to have. So yeah, that's one thing. Here is also a touchscreen. So this screen is a touchscreen, and you can touch things like the off for the adjustable ride height. You can keep that on. We can mess around with a little bit of climate control, even though you can also do that with like these sort of buttons. You can go to a climate screen and you can change things like your auto settings and your front and your rear. Like right now, we can turn the rear off if we wanted, and we could turn the front off that way too. So lots of different things. We obviously have our customizable colors on this screen as well, which is quite fun. We could change the brightness, we could change the settings for like sensitivity and software information. A lot of that is on this screen. This screen is only in the LX right now. So you don't see this configuration anywhere else. We have some large portrait mode vents off to the side. We have some climate controls in the middle with our, of course, 4-way switch. Also, I love when Lexus puts this button out in the open. So this is the heated windshield wipers. So it just heats up the glass under the wipers to keep away the ice. Also, Climate Concierge, if you don't know what that is, it's really, really cool. It uses sensors in the cabin, usually like infrared sensors, to adjust all the climate settings to your body temperature. And it does a really good job, usually only on flagships, LS, LC, et cetera, et cetera. A little bit over-engineered and underappreciated in my opinion. And then off to the right, there is one switch that I almost forgot about, and that is our low 4 to high 4 4-wheel drive switch, because it is a true 4-wheel drive. So that's pretty much this section here. Oh, one more thing. You can see here where we are for how low the car is. So you can see those bars right here. If we were on the highest setting, it would actually be up there. So it shows you how tall the vehicle is right now. Then we can go up to the top screen. I mean, I'm not gonna go crazy about this one. We have a volume knob off to the left, and then essentially it's just like any radio in the Lexus lineup, except now the vehicle portion isn't really there because everything is gonna go through that bottom screen. But Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, it is Gorilla Glass. It just doesn't have it because of we have the cover on it still. A vehicle of this price point, we obviously want to keep it looking as new as possible. Okay, up here, we have our smart mirror. So we can have it hook up to the camera in the back or just be a regular mirror. To set your garage doors and your home lights and maybe your gate, if you have a gated community, you can put it there. And a guest of mine recently, actually a salesperson reminded me of this. With this smart style, it's really easy to program these because there's like step-by-step instructions that show up on the screen. Above that, we have a nice sunglass holder. We have some touch lights here for the maps, as well as our SOS button, which is like you're launching a missile underneath a little glass panel. And then a huge, look how big this button is for the door lights as well as just the regular dome lights. Massive. It's like they needed to like take up some room and they did it. Then we have obviously just our vanity lights, your buddy Dustin there in the mirror, and all of this headliner. It's not Alcantara, but it is like a really soft material. We see some microphones up here, so sometimes for Bluetooth, those might even be a tweeter. Kind of looks like a tweeter, but that's definitely a microphone. We have some speakers up front as well, and some extra vents and things like that. So pretty much that's everything from the front point of view. A couple things flash in there. One of them is the fact that we're in the low setting. So I just want to point that out. So we can go higher than that. All we would do is we would just hit this higher button and it would do it. But the engine should be running for that. Okay, let's check out the back seat. Again, really decent sized doors. It is a full size SUV. We have curtains in the back. They are manual, which does sometimes surprise people because like the LS, for instance, is all automatic. I mean, they're both flagships at the end of the day. So, I mean, to each their own, not a big deal. We do have some piano black bezel, so that's a little different, as well as that artwork that I mentioned before, and actually you can get a better look at it. For the speaker grille, that aluminum that we talked about. And there's still a little step here. So still you can use this step to get in, and look, there's a really nicely placed grab bar. So to get up top to that dusty roof I talked about, and then to get in, all decent enough. Also, I should show you that it doesn't have soft close, but some of them do, but this one doesn't. I think it's because it's the F Sport. The 25 model might, this is the 24. But when you do grab it, it is really grippy, kind of like the GX. That's like a solid door. Okay, with the seat all the way back in front of me, it is a little, like I am touching it surprisingly, but it's way further back than it needs to be for sure. Back here, we have a few switches. So we have heated and cooled seats back here. We have climate controls, that all lights up, shows us what is on. There is even a little button, a little secret switch, so I can open that armrest for the people in front of me. And our climate control, we can control all of that from here. I also have a pretty decent armrest. Pretty solid. It does have some cup holders that sort of pop out, but for the most part, it's mainly just an armrest. It's not like an extra center console like you would get on, like, again, hate to keep making the reference, but like an LS. But the seats back here, super solid, really big, I would say, for being the fact that this is like a big off-road truck. To fold down the seat, you would just lift on this, and you can have a third row up. It's kind of like a jump seat. It's definitely not a main selling feature. So for a family, I would say you could use it, and you even have like a window to support that. Taillights. So we have the 3-piece taillight with like a little brake in the middle. We have the biggest Lexus in the whole lineup, an exposed wiper on the back as well. And I just want to show you a little bit of that trunk space. So with that third row folded down, which is where it's going to be most of the time, you can see we have a decent cavity here, really good for lifestyle. Even if you don't need a big SUV like this all the time, having that extra space is kind of nice. It kind of reminds me of like an adventurer SUV that is also someone who likes finer things. That's kind of what I think of, because it is really practical back here. We have our 12-volt cooler plug or power tool plug. We have some buttons to take that third row up and down. I will show you that if the third row is up, the size of the trunk is this here. So that is the whole size of the trunk if those rear seats are up. But if they are up, I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to take a couple extra people, especially to a beach day, something like that. So there you have it, a little bit of an in-depth look in one breath of my words on a Lexus LX 600, and this one in the F Sport package. I went over a couple buttons, some features. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video. If there's any other cars that I should do this style video, or if I missed anything, which I can already tell I missed at least 1 or 2 things. Today, I'm finally doing a video on a car I've wanted to drive on this channel for a very long time. So without further ado, today we're gonna be checking out the 2025 NX450H Plus, the plug-in hybrid NX. And big shout out to the new owner of this car, who not only let me do this video and drive it on the streets today, but also asked for it. So you know who you are, and thank you very much. Let's get into driving. So as I'm getting set up here, every once in a while, I get taught something from our Lexus guests about a feature that I didn't know about, or how to do something that I didn't know how to do. And that's exactly the case with this car. So the owner of this car, who's picking it up in a few days, messaged me saying, hey, it would be cool if you could demonstrate the My Room mode on the Lexus. And in my head, I thought, I've never heard of that mode before. Let me do some research. So it turns out, and I didn't know it was called that, but I did know it existed, is when your car is plugged in. So being that it's the NX plug-in version, when you get in and you turn on the accessory mode of the car, or the on position, the screen will say, hey, do you want to use the plug-in electricity to power things like climate control and accessories? And if you hit yes, this is called the My Room mode. And right now it's using the power from the wall to power things like the climate control, the heated seats, the heated steering wheel, and it even gives you an idea of how much that is draining. So for right now, it's saying charging may take longer because of power consumption. At some point, even if you had everything on, you can get to a point where you're actually using a bigger draw than the battery's charging. So it tells you all that from the screen here. It is really cool, and it would be good in a case of like, you know, if you were plugged in at home or maybe waiting in the car at somewhere, I don't know, maybe waiting for a friend and you're plugged in, and you could still power everything by just using that plug-in power. So while we're sitting here plugged in, there is a few more things I'll talk about. One of them is the charging schedule. So since a lot of people are gonna just plug in their car overnight and let it stay charged, you can actually set up a charging schedule. To do that, you can just add, you can do a start time, or if you really wanted to, you could set a departure time. Meaning if you knew that you had to leave for work at 7 a.m. in the morning, instead of having the car constantly charging the whole night, the car will kick on, as long as it's plugged in obviously, and charge just enough to be 100% by that 7 a.m. mark. And you can schedule that for different days of the week as well. So that way you're not constantly just feeding power into the battery. It's kind of like just doing just the right amount. Also, when you're in the energy flow screen, you can see that power coming into the car and how much it is as well. So power balance shows you if the accessories you have on are taking up more than what you're charging. Charging schedule is something you can do to schedule your charge. And then energy flow shows that you're actually doing it. And this is all while we're just kind of in the off mode, like we're not actually running the car right now. Okay, so let's go for a drive. As I mentioned, usually I don't get to drive these cars because they're usually custom order. So usually you would have to order one of these, wait, 6 to 12 months for it, and then by the time it gets here, it's sold. So I haven't had the pleasure to do so. Most of the operation is gonna be similar to any NX video that I've done in the past. So for instance, the shifter is that new electronic shifter, so we're just gonna put it into drive. And I'm also gonna make sure it's in EV mode, which it probably is, mainly because already this car just came off the truck, so it is empty. It's saying refuel, but we're gonna be in EV mode for the most part here. And I did notice when I was warming it up that in EV mode, the heater and the heated seats and stuff like that seem to be more like when you're in eco mode. So not quite super hot, obviously just trying to make the most of the efficiency of that electric motor. So there is a couple buttons in the center to play with here. They're not a perfect science in terms of like, the car still thinks it knows best, which let's be honest, it definitely knows best. So I have it in EV mode right now, but the gas engine is still on, probably because of the temperature outside. And when I go to HV mode, which is hybrid vehicle mode, EV mode or auto EV and auto HV mode, I know there's a lot of just letters there, it still has that gas engine on right now. And again, I think it just has something to do with the fact that it's so cold out. So we'll probably hear it kick off. I can still tell it's definitely the electric that's powering everything right now. And I even have it up on the screen to show us that. And the power is good. Okay, so when you have the energy flow part on your screen, you'll see sort of like an animation of where the power is going and where it's coming from. So for right now, it's showing in the green. I can clearly see that all of the power is coming from the battery to the front electric motor. When I let off the gas, it turns blue, and we now see the power coming from those wheels into the battery, and it's showing all 4 wheels. If I were to step on it, which I'm gonna do, it even kicks on the rear. It kicked on the rear power as well, just for a split second there. And by the way, and I'm gonna do a harder launch or like a little bit more of an acceleration in a few minutes here. I can already tell that the thing about a plug-in hybrid is, yes, the range and being able to plug in every night and then just use mostly, electric motors for like most of the driving, especially if you have a commute that's like, 50 kilometers to where you're going. That part is super efficient. For me, it's actually the driving experience that I like. So for instance, when I press on the gas, I don't feel any like if the electric or if the gas engine is off and it's just the electric motor running, I don't feel any vibrations or no extra noises or anything like that. It's just like a seamless spaceship accelerating. That's quite calming to me. I find it very relaxing, I guess you could say. A friend of mine from Lexus Canada even mentioned with like full electric vehicles is people say that the audio from the speaker sounds better because of the lack of those extra moving parts and the vibrations and stuff that you normally get with driving a car. And to me, having a plug-in hybrid also gives you that, which is quite nice. So that's just one thing. Also, I do notice the layout of the screen is a little bit different from the NX hybrid I'm driving right now. It shows the EV range as well as the gas range. So I'm in the refuel section of the gas engine right now. But in the EV range, it says I still have at least 37 kilometers till I run out of juice there. On the left side, We also see like, it's almost like a fuel gauge, but for the battery. So we see that it's all the way to the top. I'm seeing that on my animation to the right anyway. And then again, there's a fuel gauge to the right of the screen. So the layout there is a little bit different. I also noticed when the front cross traffic came on, it had a little bit different animation than my NXH. Sometimes we see variances like from, for instance, wherever, if the NX is made in Japan or made in Canada, sometimes just little messages here and there might just look a little bit different, but they still do the same thing, and that's probably the case with this one. Now, this is the executive package. So we have a lot of extra features here. One of them is bird's eye view. We also have heads-up display, and we even have a button to park. And perhaps I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. That is one of the benefits of going up to this package. Things like the panel roof is also nice too, which is why it's so bright in here right now. And this particular spec is the Nori Green on Palomino. And what I'm finding is when I first came to Lexus back in, I guess that was like 2018, red interiors was all the rage, and that's all everybody ever wanted. But now it's Palomino has become sort of like one of the more asked about interiors. Same with macadamia, which is like it's almost like an off-white. So these brighter interiors, instead of like those darker rich ones, is starting to become a little bit of a trend at the dealership, especially with, you know, one of those unique exteriors like the Nori Green or some of our blues that we have, stuff like that. Okay, so while I'm driving, I might as well demonstrate proactive driving assist, since I don't get to demonstrate that quite often. So proactive driving assist is that bubble around the car that's gonna give you a little bit extra safety. So right now we're driving in the city, meaning there's lots of, you know, there's a car in front of me right now. This car is coming from different angles, etc. And for the car in front of me, I want my car to be able to know it's there instead of just relying on me. Because maybe I'm talking to a GoPro and I'm not paying attention, or maybe I see a cute golden doodle walking down the street. And having proactive driving assist on means the car will recognize the distance between me and the Toyota Camry in front of me, and it could actually apply the brakes, etc. And that's what I'm feeling right now, is the car in front of me is braking. I'm going to just sort of like decelerate, and the NX will just keep me a safe distance away from it. In fact, it'll even bring it right to a stop if I wanted to. In a case that it actually needed to really stop you from hitting something, I mean, that's where it's really gonna shine. Okay, we're getting on the highway, so I'm just gonna accelerate a little briskly here. Okay, it's not crazy like the acceleration when you're in this mode. That could be because of us being low on fuel. I did hear a little bit of that electric motor like noise. I don't know the name for it, but really smooth acceleration. Again, right now we're going 100 kilometers an hour. The gas engine is not on at all. There's not really any vibration because, you know, we're not using an internal combustion engine. So it's just the electric motor right now. Super smooth. It's sitting comfortably at just over 100 kilometers an hour. I set the adaptive cruise control, and this one has the intelligent steering wheel control. So that means they're customizable, and I can see on my heads-up display what they do. So if I wanted to slow down and go up, I just sort of press what it says on that heads-up display, which, by the way, is a very crisp color heads-up display. I'm driving into the sun right now, and I can still see it really, really crisp. I see the greens, I see the blues, I see the white lettering. And if I wanted to, let's say, not have radar cruise, let's say I wanted to just have regular cruise, I can change the mode of that here from adaptive to just cruise control. Of course, adaptive is the way to go. I would always recommend using adaptive cruise control, because just like the proactive drive assist, it's gonna keep that nice safe distance around. Now, another feature I wanna demonstrate is we're gonna have the car change lanes for us. So what I'm gonna do, I have cruise control on. I'm gonna half click to the right in this case. It's gonna say check surroundings, and the car will switch lanes for us. So what it's doing is it's using that blind spot monitor, it's using the adaptive cruise control, the lane centering assist, all of the features all in one, and very safely moving us into a different lane. I've had it kick in where I tried to do it, and then it just beeps loud at you and is like, no, there's someone there, and it'll keep you safe. I know it sounds like a silly thing because like how much effort is it to switch lanes? But when you're in heavy traffic for a long period of time, it's kind of nice just to like, boop, just press a little button and have the car switch lanes for you essentially. So I do really like that feature. I use it all the time in my NX, and I definitely recommend as you get familiar with your new car to try it out. Same with the radar cruise control, same with, you know, any of those extra safety features. It's just cool, and the car has it, so as you get used to it, it's good to use. Okay, so now we're on like a little bit more of a country road, so it's a little bumpier, but the NX450H Plus is just super smooth. I do wonder if the extra weight from that EV battery just creates like a little bit more planted of a car. It's not like the regular NX is rough in any means. In fact, it's quite comfortable as well, but this one just seems a little bit more solid. So that's an interesting thing. Also, I will mention the fact that we've been in EV almost this whole time, and I don't hear a ton of wind noise. I don't hear, like, we're driving right beside a highway right now. I don't hear like the cars on the highway super loud. So maybe some extra insulation materials is in this thing. I'm not too sure, but it is really, really quiet in here, even with that EV motor going. Roadside assist is another feature that I forget to talk about in like the showroom style videos. So right now we're in an 80km/h zone, and my car is telling me in 2 spots, it's telling me on my heads-up display, maximum 80, and on my dash. And as we get into a 60km zone, which I'm just crossing into, it switches almost instantly. As I cross into the 60km zone, that sign both on the dash and the heads-up display switches to 60. And if I go over 60, let's see, if I go 61, if I go 62, it turns red. So another great visual reminder that I should slow down, like I'm speeding a little bit. I've had this happen where I was using Google Maps recently, sort of in the country, and I was on my way to the airport, and Google Maps told me I could go 80 here, and my car was saying, no, it's actually a 60. And I looked, and it was actually a 60. So the fact that it actually reads the signs, like it uses a camera and a sensor to read the actual signs, is more accurate than trusting something like Google Maps. Now the downside is if that sign is covered in snow, then it doesn't read it. And I've seen that before where the 80 zone ended, but the car didn't know that because it didn't see the zone. Okay, so real quick, I wanted to try the park assist function. However, the lines are a little hard to read today, so I'm gonna see if it picks them up. So all I did was I pressed the park assist button, and the car sort of scanned for some parking spots. And then now it gives me like an idea of it. Now, there's a lot of snow, and we're kind of just simulating this because it's not actually picking up perfectly. But just for the video, let's try it. So we're gonna hit start. We're letting go. So the car is doing its thing. It also turns on the signal so that people around us know that we're parking. You can see that steering wheel moving around. And on the animations, it'll also help you understand where we're going, how close we're getting, what the car is thinking about, like in terms of obstacles and stuff like that. Again, super fluid. This technology has come such a far way from like the first generations where it took like 20 minutes to park when you would use it. I mean, this one doing a great job. It does slow down towards the end here because it really wants to like make it perfect. And this one is covered in snow. Like we're in a snow covered parking spot right now, and it did well. And then it says that we're good, and it shows the outside of the car and how we're doing. Okay, so after driving it a little bit, I wanted to get out and admire it, especially in this nori green color. So one of the things about nori green that I like the most is it looks very different depending on the day, kind of similar to some of our blues and some of our reds. When the sun hits it, you see a very rich metallic green. And then when it's in the shade, it looks a lot darker. It's a little bit more of like a forest green. And with the NX, having a little bit of contrast between some of those grays, and in this case, the gray in the grille actually has some metallic to it as well. With that triple beam LED headlight system and those frosted daytime running lights, all together looks super amazing. And is one of those cars that like, it looks better in person than on the Lexus website, I find. Also, I should mention, the triple beam high beams is something I don't usually get to showcase, and I can't today because it's still bright out, but in that feature, we have adaptive high beams. And what adaptive high beams are, is imagine your headlights being on, and when a car comes towards you or a person is walking across the street, instead of turning your high beams totally off, all it's gonna do is turn off the light that is crossing paths with that object. So I use my fingers for that, and say if a car is coming towards me, probably maybe 2 of my left fingers or maybe all 3 are gonna just go down, and I'm still gonna have light towards the right or towards even around the object sometimes. So that is a very underrated feature on that triple beam headlight system, is those adaptive high beams. And a lot of people don't get to use it to the maximum effect, so I highly recommend it. Also, I need to point out the wheel. So that wheel with sort of that exposed metal and that darker gray just looks super sharp. These Bridgestones, for being a snowy day, also did a really good job. I recently drove an NX through a snowstorm, and I didn't have winter tires, and I usually rock winter tires because I'm a big believer in it. And I was impressed with how well it did. Now, I still recommend winter tires because of stopping distances and stuff like that, but the ones that come on it really held up in a pinch the other day when I was driving. So there you have it, just a quick overview of the driving experience of an NX450H. Today we got to stay in full EV mode, meaning that you can drive this in full EV mode. It has really good power, it's a really smooth drive, and can be very useful for best of both worlds. Meaning you can drive it like a hybrid and have range to go all the way from Toronto to Ottawa and back, or you can plug it in every day, put it in that EV mode, and for those, short commutes, and if you're gonna charge at work anyways, it does a great job of that world too. So a big shout out and thank you to the new owners of this car for letting me film and drive it. Like I said, I've wanted to do that for a while. Enjoy your new Lexus, and to all the viewers, thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video.